All right, so we have gone through some background information about amortization tables. Let's now see an amortization table for itself. And here it is in all of its glory. Let's now break it down. As you can see, we've got the payment number, the payment amount, the interest being paid, the principal reduction, and then the loan balance. So let's look through these one by one. You've got the payment number, 0. So this is when you haven't made any payments at all. So the payment amount of 0, the interest being paid is 0, the principal reduction is 0, and the loan balance is $1,600 because that's how much you have taken out. So that's our first line there. Let's now go to our next line. Payment number 1. We're making a repayment of $276. The interest being paid is $16. Now, where did that $16 come from? Well, remember what we said. It's simply 1% of $1,600 here. So we went 1,600 times by 0.01, and that got us our answer there. That's what we did to figure it out. Because remember, the interest being paid is just 1% of the loan balance. The way that we figured out our principal reduction is what we said is we know that we're paying $276 every month, but we have to subtract away from that the interest that we're being charged, and that's that's $16. So that means the amount that my principal is going down by is only $260. And then, in order to get the loan balance here, what we did is we took our previous loan balance, $1,600, it's too many zeros, and then we subtracted our principal reduction, and that got us our loan balance. Let's now look at our next one. So this is now payment number 2. Payment number 2. Again, we're making a payment of $276. We now need to figure out how much interest we're going to be charged in this month. To figure out the amount of interest that we're going to be charged in this month, what we've done is we've taken the loan balance from the previous month and popped it there, and we're figuring out 1% of that. So we can just use our calculator here, and when we do that, what we're going to find out is it's going to be $13.40. Can you notice something for me? The thing I want you to notice is the fact that in the previous month, in payment number 1, do you see how the interest being paid was $16, but now it's $13.40? It's gone down in value. And the reason why the interest being paid is going down is because the loan is reducing. And remember, you're paying 1% of whatever the loan is. So what you'll find when you're doing amortization tables for reducing balance loans is that the interest being paid will decrease. And we saw that if we come back all the way here, it says the interest paid reduces. That's what that sentence there says. All right, let's come down here. To figure out our principal reduction, what we do is we say, well, we know that we're paying $276, so we put that there. But now we need to take away the amount of interest that we're being charged. So that's $13.40. That means my principal will reduce by, if I subtract that by that, you can just chuck that into your calculator, you're going to get 262.60. So that's how much your principal will reduce by. Therefore, when we come to our last square here, to figure out our new loan balance, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this number here of my previous loan balance, pop it there, and I'm going to subtract from that 262.60. So that's my principal reduction. And that will take me to 1,077.40. All right, and then you would literally do exactly the same thing again. So if you were to come down here, we'll come to our, and let me just clear the board off for a moment, otherwise we've just got too much here. If we were to come down to our third payment here, you can see that we're making a payment of $276. The interest being paid now is $10.77. Again, take a note that it's decreasing. It went from 16 to 13.40 to now 10.77. The reason why it's decreasing is because I'm taking the loan balance from here, which is 1077.140, and I'm timesing it by 0.01. So I'm figuring out 1% of that, and 1% of that is going to end up being 10.77. My principal reduction is how much my principal will reduce by. So what I do is I take my repayment amount, 276, and I reduce from that, I subtract from that the amount of interest that I'm being paid. And then to figure out what this is going to be, I take the previous balance of the loan, which is 1077.40, and I subtract away my principal reduction, 265.23. So that's what we're doing there. Let's now look at the next one. And I know I'm taking a lot of time doing this, but I think it's very important that you understand what exactly is going on. All right, payment number 4. You're once again making a payment of $276. And by now, what you should have realized is that this is always the same, isn't it? It's always the same. Once we've done that, we need to figure out the amount of interest that that I have to pay here. So the interest paid, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my loan balance from the previous month, 812.17, and I'm going to figure out 1% of that. And if I do that, if I figure out 1% of it, what I'm going to end up with here is, now let's just make sure I can find it in my notes here. I'm writing the right one down. Yes, it'll be 8.12. If I then want to figure out what my principal reduction is going to be, to figure out my principal reduction, what I will do is I will say, I know that I'm being charged, so I'm paying 276 each month. I'm going to subtract away the interest. So that means when I do that, what I'm going to end up with is 267.88. And then finally, to figure out my new loan balance, what I do is I take my loan balance from the previous month, which was 812.17, and I subtract away 267.88. And when I do that, what I'm going to end up with is 544.29. So as you can see then, I might highlight this just so it's very clear and abundant. This is my new numbers. And then of course, you do the same thing again for payment number 5. And if you do that, you'll get all of these numbers here. I'm not going to go through that right there. All right, let's now take a breather for a moment, because now we're going to come to payment number 6, where things are going to get interesting.